Hey everyone, it's me, Stephanie Nietzsche, and if you've been watching my channel or listening to my videos, you know that I've been saying I am going to make 2026 the best year yet. Now, that has to do with writing, that has to do with books, that has to do with getting my name out there. Now, how am I going to do that? One of the ways I'm going to do that is going to more events. I've been basically doing everything online, and I haven't really been going to events. But this year I said, you know what? I'm going to venture out. I joined a group. And I even search for my own events. I'm getting invited to book clubs. I think it's fantastic. So now, as I do go to these events though, I do get to talk to other vendors and I get to see for myself things that work and things that don't work. So I want to focus on one thing today in this video, and that one is going to be at events, how do you let readers know that you are the author of the books that are displayed on the table? Because believe it or not, just because someone is standing behind a table with a bunch of books, that does not mean that they wrote them. And it's very common because I just went to an event recently and someone was sharing gardening books. Now, I was speaking to this vendor and I did look at who it was written by, but I didn't know the vendor's name at the time. And I said, did you write these books? And she said, no, but I want other people to get into gardening and know the importance of gardening. So that's why I'm selling these books. So that's a good example of how someone may be selling books that they haven't written. Another example is I know an author who someone they really cared about has passed away. And before they passed away, they wrote a book. So what they're doing is they're continuing to share this book and trying to get this book out there and, find readers for the book. So that's very heartfelt. That's a wonderful thing to do to keep this person's book and story being read. So that's another example of how someone at a table selling books may not be the author. So what do you do in a case like that? Well, here's an example. It's very cost effective. I printed up a sign and it says meet the author, little design there with the book and flowers coming out, and there's my name. So what I was doing was putting the sign right on the table. Then I realized, you know what, a lot of times people aren't looking at everything that's on the table because, you have your book, sometimes you have a little bit of merch, sometimes it's an awkward exchange, it could be anything. So they're not looking at everything. So then I said, you know what, I'm just gonna hang it in front of the table like that. That way people at a distance or that are passing by can see that it says meet the author. Whereas if they were just passing by or they were a little far away, they wouldn't be able to tell if it was right on the table. So then my husband said, you know what, you need something bigger. So what he did was order me this sign on Amazon. Meet the author today. So now I could see how that is a big help. And I looked around, one of the last events I went to, there was a variety, just wasn't authors, it was just me and the woman that was selling the gardening books that she didn't write, but there were other vendors there selling some fabulous things and some delicious food. A lot of them had signs that said, the name of their business and what they did. So why should I be any different? But I didn't bring my sign that day because I heard it was going to be muddy and my sign is brand new and I did not want to get my sign all muddy. So I didn't bring it. Needless to say, this is another thing I want to share. There should have been signs outside of the establishment, outside of the place that said, vendors today, shop local today, support small businesses, or something appealing that was inside. Like there was cotton candy, there was meet the bunny, there was an Easter bunny there. There should have been a sign right outside. Take pictures with the Easter bunny, cotton candy, there was sourdough bread. There were my books. There was some, oh, I'm so sorry. You know what? There was a fabulous children's author there. Duh, Stephanie, how could you forget that? There was a fabulous children's author there. And she writes, embrace your features. So that should have been, advertised outside, children's author, because there was a bunny. So, when there's a bunny, kids are going to be present. So anyway, yeah, there was no sign that said, there was no sign that said we were inside. So people passing by did not know we were inside. So when you're paying for an event, you should make sure that whoever is hosting the event and charging you for the event is helping you get traffic for the event, and not just on social media. Signs outside help. We lost foot traffic. We lost cars passing by. We lost people that lived across the street and people that lived in the area, people that were walking their dogs, people that were going to the place. I won't say what the place was, people that were going to the place in general. We lost all of that. There should have been notice that we were there, because where we were was kind of like, I don't want to say off the beaten path, but yeah, it's kind of like off the beaten path. We lost a lot that day. So writer to writer, business person to business person, when you're paying for a space, you really should make sure that there's signs, ask ahead of time, and then even do a walkthrough and say, how come there's not a sign saying that we're here? Another event I went to recently, if there would have been signs on the street, because it was a very busy area, but if there would have been signs on the street, we would have got so much foot traffic. And it wasn't just books, so, people can't even say, oh, I don't read, so I'm not going to go in. There was a variety of things going on. So there should have been a sign outside. With that said, these are the things that we have to do. These are the follow-ups that we have to do. And we should ask, you know what I mean? And sometimes people that are hosting the events do talk to the establishment about it. And the establishment says they're going to provide signs, or, because usually they have those things on hand for other events that are going on. So yeah, sometimes they don't do it. I mean, they get busy, they have their own customers. I totally get it, but we're paying for it. So it's our job also to make sure that the place or the person that's hosting the event is providing signs and information, alerting people that we have stuff. Come look at it. Come talk. Come see us. Come visit. Okay, that's it. So a sign helps. And in the meantime, if you don't have a sign and someone approaches your table, even if they're a little bit at a distance, you can say, hi, I wrote these books. I'm the author. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And then you can leave it at that. You don't want to talk somebody's ear off. You don't want to tell the entire story unless they say, oh, tell me about your books. Tell them about your books, but make it brief. And most importantly, don't tell them the end.